What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Breaking Bad Season 3. Season 3 of Breaking Bad is yet another excellent season in the Breaking Bad universe. I love Season 3. I think Season 3 to me is just as good, if not just a little bit better than Season 2. A lot of good things happen in Season 3. You know, the characters of Mike, Saul, and Gus all get their moments to shine in their own little ways. The relationship between Walt and Jesse continues to grow, continues to be just one of those relationships that it's a love-hate relationship with these two, because one moment they're at each other's throats and the next moment you can clearly tell they care for one another. The relationship between Walt and Jesse is really fractured, but I like how it's handled in the first half of season 3, with Jesse going through rehab and Walt pretty much there to support Jesse himself. I like how for the majority of the season Jesse's trying to keep himself clean, but is still in the meth business. Walt, Walt goes through a lot in this season. You know, Skylar has an affair with Ted, and of course that really gets, and of course that fucks Walt up. Uh, Walt, Walt's relationship with Gus is getting into full gear, which is great, especially towards the end of the season where the relationship starts to have cracks and the rivalry officially begins between those two, in which it gets even heated up in season 4. But the beginnings of the fracturing starts in season 3, which is good stuff. The character of Mike has some cool moments in this season as well. He has a great monologue in the episode Half Measure, where he tells Walt a story about a guy who he could have stopped from killing his wife, but he took a half measure, and that's why the guy got cut loose. And of course, the whole purpose of that was the whole purpose of that entire monologue was Mike telling Walt, "No more half measures. If you're gonna do something, go all the way." And it's a great scene between Mike and Walt. It's very intense and just a great. And Jonathan Banks' acting in that scene is fantastic. His performance all throughout this season is great. He's got a very dry humor to him, and everything he does is just like he's almost like annoyed at the majority of the time when he's doing things, especially when it comes to Walt. But we do get some moments of levity when we see him interact with his granddaughter, who you can clearly tell he loves, and you get to see that lighter side of Mike. You don't get all of it, which is good, because Mike has to maintain who he is, but you get those moments with him, which I think is cool, and it really fleshes out and rounds about his character in a nice way. We get to know more about Mike. We find out that he was a beat cop. We find out that he has the granddaughter. So all that stuff with Mike is great. Stuff with Gus in this episode, in this season, I like it as well. We see just how calm, just how cool and collected this man really is. We see just how vicious this man can be, pretty much orchestrating the death of a drug cartel by federales, and orchestrating the death of an 11-year-old boy. And of course, it's revealed that the 11-year-old boy who Gus has killed was the one who killed Combo in season 2. So yeah, we see just how ruthless and just how just vicious Gus can be, while still maintaining this cold yet calculated exterior, while putting the front of a mild-mannered philanthropist type guy. It's a great character with Gus. He's such a and Giancarlo Esposito is just fantastic. He's perfect, perfect. And the relationship between Gus and Walt, especially in this season, starts off strong, and towards the end, the cracks start to show. And of course, it sets up perfectly for the rivalry between these two in season 4, which I can't wait to get to. The stuff that happens with Hank in this season is great stuff too. Hank's character gets much more expanded upon. You know, Hank is on the investigation trying to find, Heisenberg, and he comes really close to catching Jesse and Walt in one episode. But Walt has to do a shit thing and pretty much lie and say that, Hank's wife Marie was in an automobile accident when there really was no accident. Of course, this leads to Hank beating the living shit out of Jesse, nearly killing him, and Hank pretty much nearly losing his job with the DEA. And this all leads to Hank pretty much getting attacked by the the murder twins, the cousins. And of course, the cousins were referenced in season 2 of Breaking Bad as being Tuco's cousins. And they're featured throughout the first half of season 3 because they're pretty much on a quest to get revenge on Heisenberg. And And they nearly get Heisenberg in an early episode until Gus pretty much saves Walt's life. And instead, they go after Hank and nearly get Hank until Hank kills one of them. And then while in the hospital, Mike gets the other one. But throughout the season, especially the first half of the season, the cousins, they're just cold, they're very silent, and they're very calculating. And they're vicious, and they're vicious bastards too. Almost getting Hank with an axe in a parking lot. Great stuff, good stuff, I love it. And Walt himself goes through a lot this season. You know, his relationship with Jesse's up and down. He has to wrestle with the fact that his wife wants to get a divorce, while at the same time is having an affair with her boss, Ted Beneke. This drives Walt up, just pretty much drives Walt insane to the point where he pretty much loses his job, but he tries to make the moves on Principal Carmen, the principal at his school, and pretty much Walt he's just a mess this season, but it's great. You know, it's great stuff, and his evolution into fully embracing his Heisenberg moniker is nearly complete. You know, he's just lost his job as a school teacher. He's doing the meth thing. Plus, you got the character of Gale, who got brought in by Gus. Now, the character of Gale, he may seem very, very minor, but as the show progresses and as the seasons go on, Gale's character, from beyond the grave, because Gale's character is a very, very important character, especially because his character sets off a chain of events, which I'll get to when I get to reviews of the later season. But Gale, he may seem like a minor character at first, but he's really an important character when you look at it. But I do like the performance of David Constable, and I kind of like this whole thing of Gale having an admiration for Walt, almost having like a crush on Walt. It's weird, but Constable really plays this star-eyed idolization of Walt in a really, interesting way. And I like the first episode they have together where you got these two nerds just having a good time with one another. It's actually pretty interesting. I like it a lot. I thought it was pretty cool. And yes, the stuff from the plane accident from season 2 plays a big role in the first half of the first season as well. Especially when we find out that Jane's father ends up going to prison, loses his job, and pretty much goes to jail because he caused the accident. So that gets wrapped up. And yes, this season features the infamous Fly episode, which is either an episode you like or an episode you hate. Me personally, I am indifferent to it. In terms of an acting and production standpoint, the episode is fine. In terms of what it gives to the overall season, you could skip the episode Fly and you're not going to miss a beat, because absolutely nothing gets progressed. It's just an episode of Walt and Jesse chasing around a fly, and no character progression happens, no story progression happens, no big revelations happen. It almost happens and they pull back on it. So yeah, episode Fly, in the grand scheme of things, is the most forgettable episode, and not only in this season, but of the Breaking Bad universe itself, because it adds and brings absolutely nothing in the long run. But all that aside, season 3, there's so much more to talk about with season 3, but those are just my bare bones thoughts on Breaking Bad season 3. Overall, this season is going to be I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10, only because the episode Fly is kind of a waste, and it's really a throwaway episode, and an episode like Fly could have been used to do some character progression and kind of like get the story, kind of progress the story more. Instead, it grinds everything to a screeching halt, and it just kind of like, just kind of does nothing to overall season. It kind of hurts it in a little way, because, it's an episode that could have been done to do more, and it doesn't do a damn thing. So yeah, 9.5 out of 10 for season 3. Realistically, it is a 10, but I'm going to give it a 9.5 because The Fly really is a hinder on an overall nearly perfect season. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Breaking Bad season 3. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I would like to know. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.